Dustin is really good about that. I'm terrible about those things, and Steve's pretty bad. But yeah, Dustin will listen to that at least.
Okay. Well,
And if I, yeah,
it's recording now, so anything you and I
cool.
say at this point is being recorded for the ages, at least between you and me.
Right, right,
All
all
right.
right.
Excellent. Well, so let me do this. I mean, since you're a fairly technical individual and the people on your end are fairly technical, I just bowl through this thing. And as you have questions as we're going along, feel free to jump in. I want to make sure you understand what you're seeing. So let's start
Okay.
out. First of all, are you seeing my screen right now?
Yes, I am. Yep.
Okay, good. So, just in case we didn't talk about this already, the product is a completely browser based application. And I don't know, I think we got into some of the pricing, but are you aware that you can install this on a server in your building or you can use our cloud based hosted model?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. And there's also, just so you know, the cloud based hosted model also has a private cloud option where instead of being in a shared infrastructure, you can literally have your own databases, everything. So typically, by the time people get into that, they're probably more inclined just to stick it in their building than to pay somebody else to handle the cloud aspect of it. But just so you know, it's there.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay. Yep.
Don't care what web browser you use. I choose to use Chrome just because I think Chrome is the best one there is. So, all right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to log in. As a matter of fact, I can tell this screen's been messed up a little bit since the last time I did a demo. So I'm going to turn a few more things on here real quick. Give me 1 second here. Okay. So nonetheless, when I walk it, when I log in, the first thing we're presented with is a dashboard. All right. Now the dashboard, the beauty of the dashboard is this is a completely configurable screen to however you like it. In the end, what we want is when you log in, you're getting stats and information that's relevant to what you're doing. So from a very simplistic standpoint, the first graph, the graph we look at here is the rolling graph of how much evidence is coming in over a period of time versus how much stuff is going out, and then on and on. But the more important part is down here at the bottom. Now, ignore the fact that I'm seeing drug stats and currency stats. It doesn't matter what these things are called. The point is, you can go in and build searches within our product, and then you can go in and have those show up on a dashboard screen. You can even create dashboard screens that you really like and share them out with other users in your organization. So you could, if you desired, you could have 100 different pieces of data on your dashboard screen at any point when you log in. And then not only do you see what the number is, you can say, all right, great, I see that that's 23. I want to click on it and I want to drill in and actually get the details of what that is. Okay. Sorry here. So
Yep.
now I'm going into the search and now I'm getting the 23 items that are a part of that. And now you're sort of in your Excel view at this point, but that's how the dashboard works. You should have relevant information that's important to what you're doing. So there's no reason that you should not have ready access to whatever it is you're looking for. And this can be on a very grand scale when you build these searches to save them. So let's do something really basic. Let me go over to the left side of my screen and I'm going to do a search and I'm going to say I want to search case information. Now you may call a case a project or a matter, totally up to you. When I go in here, this is how you begin to build a case search. You know, what parameters are you interested in? I'm looking for all cases where the offense type or the matter type is whatever it is. But then you
Yep.
can also go down here, and this is where you get into offices. You could say, give me all my matters that are a e-discovery for a particular office. And so now, if you are operating 7, 8, 9 different offices within our product, you will see them begin to build in here, and you're off and running. Now, let me
All
flip
right.
this over. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this to a different organization. I am going to go with, hold on, Safe Digital Forensics. Now, watch what happens when I flip into this version of the site. All right. So now I'm in, and when I go in, and things that I used to see a moment ago that said case, person, and item, and things like that are now matter. As a matter of fact, when I go into a search for a matter now, we come down to the matter type, and now I'm getting things that are more of a forensic and e-discovery type of thing. One of the beautiful things of this product, and so one, by the way, I am bouncing all over right now. So if at any point you're like, whoa, wait a minute, hold on, you've lost me there, just throw up timeout and let me know and I'll readdress it. All right.
Yeah. No. I mean, I think we're good. I mean, I just want to put this together and back it in to our workflow. Go ahead and finish this, and then I think it's all going to come together.
So one of the things I was going to suggest is when you go into settings and organization, which the settings are all of the different administrative settings you have within the product, one of the options you have is a translation file. So literally every word that shows up on the website can be changed to whatever you want it to be. I mean, this translation file is multiple thousands of lines long. So that's how I get matter versus project or whatever else. Okay? So that was just one setting I wanted to throw out to you to begin with, is that if you literally don't like the word add widget right there, you can go in and change the word add widget. Okay.
Okay.
So
All right.
let's now that you're seeing a little bit of this, let's take a step back and let's talk about workflow. How do we get information into the system? Now let me make a statement and then I want you to tell me yes, that follows along with what I'm doing or not. Okay? In our product, the basic building block of everything is the matter. Now, in your world, actually, a lot of people may have a client above that level. So I have a client, clients have matters, and then within matters, I have, custodians, people that are involved in the matter. I have physical items. I may have digital items. I have notes and things to that effect. But the structure of our product is the top level is the matter. Then within that, I start building things.
Okay, and that could work. I mean, yeah, we do have client up top, but it's fine. I mean, our primary organizational unit now is the matter anyway.
Okay.
Um,
Well, when I
yeah.
get into custom fields in a minute, you'll see how all of a sudden that matter can contain client information. So,
Okay.
for example, let's go over here to the left and let's just say I want to add a new matter. And so now the screen pops up and says, "What is the matter number?" And you type in, whatever your format is. So we'll type this in and say that's my matter number, whether that's your format or not. Who cares? So I'm going to go
Yep.
with that. This is an investigation. And so now I've clicked next and I put in, who is the project manager on this thing? So I'm going to select my name. What is the address of this matter? And as I start typing in an address, you'll see it's tied into Google Maps just to help you get into there. What's the matter date? I can put tags in. I can put a description in. This is a test matter. Now, at this point, I understand there's not a lot of questions on that screen. And inevitably, people are like, how do I customize all this? Stand by 1 minute. I'm going to show you how to customize and add fields to this screen. But at this point, I'm going to simply go down to the bottom and say, hey, I want to save and view this matter. I've now created the container. In fact, now that the container is created, I've got 0 persons in the case or matter. I've got no items, no media, no notes, no task, nothing. All I did was build the first container. So once you build the container, now let me take a step back. When I go back to the dashboard, you can get into that container just by going up here and typing in my matter number. Okay, yeah, there's a matter I want to look at. Now I'm in. Or you can look at your recent matters over on the left. Or you could do a search and say, hey, let's do something simple like I'm going to do a search for matters. I want all matters that are newer than 5 days. And now we search and it should
Yep.
come back and there is the one matter. So I'm going to view that, and now I'm back in the matter container. So at this point, we're going to spend a moment populating the matter. So one of the things you can go in and do is say, I want to add people into this matter. Now, in your world, typically, it's not so much go in and add a new person, unless it's like the attorney that's involved. So I'm going to go with Larry Thompson he is the attorney in this matter. So I'm going to go with he's the attorney. Now, the reason I'm going this route is because he was not in the system. But if Larry was in the system already in another case, it would have popped up and said, oh, hey, wait a minute, hold on, Larry already exists. Normally, when you go in to populate all of your employees into the matter, you're going to go in and search people. And we may do something like give me all people in the system where the first name contains Ben. And so I'm going to search and pretend, oh, you know what? Let's do something a little more blank. I don't even know how many people I've got in this system. Let's search all people. Okay, so we're going to say, oh, you know what? Let's go with this. We'll pick these 3 people. These are all employees. I'm going to add them into the case. So now instead of adding all those people brand new, I'm simply going in and say, you know what? Those people that already exist, this guy is the custodian, Ronnie is the defendant, and Bob is the whatever person of interest. I'm just putting
Yep.
stuff in here. So now what's happening is instead of you adding all these people brand new, I added them to an existing case. Now I can click on Lauren Henry's name where he's a custodian here, and I can see every case that this person is involved. This is the only case that that person's involved.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
So again, all I'm doing is populating things. Now that's a basic step. Here's really the purpose of the software. This is what you're using your Excel documents for. So I'm going to go in and start populating evidence into the system. Now, keep in mind, let me back up one screen. Keeping in mind, this is your physical evidence tab, and we're going to get into also tracking your digital evidence that you may put on a SANS drive right now, and you can still put on a SANS drive, but I'm going to show you how you can control access to all of that media from within our software so that you get chain of custody on it. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so let's go back and just real quick, let's add a physical piece of evidence. So we're going to go in and say that this first item is a computer, and now you'll notice this screen has quite a bit more detail than what the case screen did. And the reason that is because this is an evidence tracking system. You know, we're definitely going to collect more data on the evidence than the matter. Okay, so who picked this item up? Sorry, I got to find a person in here. We'll go with this person. What was the date that it was obtained yesterday? And we'll say that this is a Toshiba laptop. And so the reason we obtained it, it's evidence, Toshiba, and I'm not going to put a model in because I don't even know a Toshiba model right off the top of my head.
Yeah,
now you can
fine.
say, what's that?
That's fine. Yeah, it's pretty normal. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go in and say, hey, this item belongs to, and it shows the 4 people that are in the case. I can say, hey, this item belongs to Ronnie. Or you could say it belongs to, if it happens to belong to multiple people, you can do that. All right. Now, the last thing you're going to do down at the bottom is, where am I going to store this at? Every item belongs to a storage location. So we're going to say that I'm going to put this item in the high security vault. And by the way, you're going to build this, part of your getting the system is you're going to build the storage location structure. Okay. So I'm going to say this item is going into the high security vault. At this point, I'm done entering the item. I'm just going to click save, and I want to view all the items in the case. And now you can see our container just got its first physical piece of evidence. Now, another cool thing is, instead of going back in and re-entering another item, you can just pick an existing item and duplicate it. Because typically within a case, let's say that we have a Toshiba laptop and now this one's a Dell laptop. Everything's the same except this. Okay, we don't duplicate serial number. And now we can go in and say this item belongs to Lauren Henry. I'm still going to put it in the high security vault, confirm that I am duplicating, save, and now I just entered another item. So you can sit here and spin off a lot of items pretty quickly. Once the items have been entered, typically most people will go in and print a label that go on these items. And the purpose of the label is mainly the barcode that's on it so that you can use scanners to check this stuff in and out to generate chain of custody. Okay, rolling with me so far?
Yep. And by the way, I mean, I think you got this, but like this is the reason for everything. I mean, this is the most important part and like the most kind of challenging area that we're facing right now is just this collection and tracking of evidence. I mean, because again, we're doing it by spreadsheet these days.
Yep. I'm with you. Yeah, and that's the purpose of our software for sure.
Yep. Cool.
Okay, so let's do this. I just want to show you real quick. Let's go back in. A moment ago, you remember when I entered a matter, there weren't many fields on the screen. Another huge option you have within our product is to build custom forms. So you can go in, and by the way, I know I'm moving 100 miles an hour in here. I'm going to go in and build the Navigant custom form. And I want it to show up on the case screen. And so when I go in and enter a case, I want a text box to come up. In fact, I want 2 text boxes to come up. I'm going to add a number box. I'm going to put a text area in. I'm going to do a checkbox list and a radio button. And so not only can you go in and add all these, you can go into the properties of them. You can rename the field. You can put in validation and parameters and all sorts of stuff on this. But the point is I'm building custom fields. So check this out. I'm going to save that. I just built my Navigant custom form. The only other thing I have to do is go into my settings and tie that to which type of items it comes up on. Because now you can say, I do want that custom form to come up when I enter a computer crime or forensic, but not these other 2 things. So with that, I go back in and enter a matter. We're just going to put a bunch of, let's do this, and we'll go with 2 on it. And now we're going to say computer crime and check this out. Now you've got all these additional custom fields that come up at the bottom. So you have the ability to say, you know what, for Navigant, when I create a matter, I got 45 questions that I want to come up. And the purpose of collecting any of that data is so that you can search on it or report on it. and every bit
Yeah.
of that becomes searchable or reportable. And so if this right here is for whatever reason you decide to put in here, I don't know, some dumb like maybe all your case folders are color coded. I'm coming up with a really dumb example, and
Right. Yeah.
I totally concede that right off the bat. But let's just say you did that, and so you wanted to go in here, and depending on what the case color is, I want to put blue, red, or yellow. So in the end, by collecting that data, as dumb as that example is, you could go in and run a search. Give me every matter that is in a blue folder that was brought in the last 60 days. That's why you collect all that data. And if you wanted it to go out on a piece of paper, even the label, what color is the folder? It's blue. You could have that go out on that label I generated a little bit ago.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So one other thing I want to show you within the matter screen here. Not only am I creating all this physical evidence, one of the other basic purposes of our product is transactions on all this evidence. Check in, check out, moving, finally doing disposition. So I'm just going to do one quick transaction. I'm going to do a checkout on this item, and I'm going to select that this person's taking the item. The reason he is, it's going to court. I can put any notes in here. When am I expecting this to come back? That's used for searching also. Here's my digital signature. I check the item out, and now these items are checked out. But more importantly than them being checked out, now I can generate my chain of custody form, and now you'll see these items. Here is the item, and then under each item is the chain of custody for that item. So all you do is enter it, and then typically what you're going to do, now I showed you how to manually check this stuff in and out. Typically you're going to take that barcode and you're going to go to your scan screen. You're going to use a scanner, and you're going to go in and say, oh, hey, I'm checking that item out, and you just sit there and scan all the items that are being checked out. It builds up a list, and then you perform an action on it. Okay?
Nice. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. No, that all makes sense. In terms of like, I mean, it's just whatever barcode scanner we have. I mean, presumably we'll create the labels and all that stuff beforehand if we're remote. USB it into the machine and go. All right. I'm thinking like really down into the weeds, just like the tactical. All right.
Sure.
What does it feel like when you're in the field? And you've got your scanner, plug it in, log in, go. All right.
Now, just so you know, the labels for the items are not generated until you input them into the system. So the idea would be when you're in the field. Now, keeping in mind, this is a browser-based system. Wherever the website is at, the user has to be able to log into it. They log in, they enter all their items. They can certainly print their stuff remotely. They just have to have a printer to be able to do that.
Yep.
This is not an offline capture where you come back and sync it later, or you pre-print labels before you leave. You generate the labels once the items are entered.
Yep. No. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. No, that's even better. So we can do it after the fact. What was I going to ask? On your website, you had pictures of mobile devices. I mean, is it all through the same browser interface, or I mean, do you guys like optimize the look and feel if it's somebody's doing it on a mobile device, or
actually? So work? Yeah, watch my screen here right now. So this whole system is built to be minified. So you'll notice as I go to a much smaller screen there, all of a sudden the site is now reacting. I would say it works really well. So here's one of the documents I'm going to send to you when this call is over with. Let me bring it up on my screen here real quick. This document right here. So here's a document that I'm going to send to you. It goes over the entirety of purchasing our product from every level that you could look at. One of the areas in here is some of the hardware options that we sell and highly recommend. All right. So down here are your tablet devices. The only thing that I will say is we have tested this with iOS and Android, and as much as I'm an Apple fan, I don't know if you've noticed I'm on an Apple computer here. I've got an iPhone, I have an iPad. Our software just works a bazillion times better on one of these Insignia 8-inch Windows OS devices.
Gotcha. Okay.
It just does. All right. So that's why I would say if you're out in the field, get some variation. I don't care if you use a Surface tablet if you want. That's just more real estate. But the bottom line is it's a Windows operating system. And then here is the scanner. If you're going to get a scanner with it, here is a socket Bluetooth scanner. And so it connects to it via Bluetooth. And that is the way to do that.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
So I'm going to give you this document. I don't care if you buy it from me or if you go buy this hardware on your own. It's totally up to you. But here is a list of things that I would operate within that framework. Okay?
Okay. No, that works. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So another couple of things that I really want to show. The next one is the media. And I understand we're trying to fix the problem of your physical evidence. No problem. But I do want to show you, you have the option from within here to go in and load up digital media. Now, I'm going to start out with some really small digital media. Let's go in and let's just say that the digital media I'm loading up is just, here's like a JPEG file. Okay, but you can also load up docs and even MP4 files or ISO files, things to that effect. Now, before you say no way, we're not going to do that, there's one thing I want you to see at the end of that that may change your mind significantly on this. So let me throw. I'm going to throw one more file in here. Let's throw this in. And so all I'm doing is taking all these files and dragging them to the screen. And the beauty of it is I've got, here's my case or my matter container. Here's all my physical evidence in one tab. I go one tab over and here's all my digital evidence. So now the nice thing is by having all the digital evidence inside of here, so like for example, that's just a JPEG file. When I look at the details of that JPEG file, hold on, you can see we load up all the media details, all the metadata, but more importantly, you've got a chain of custody down at the bottom. So now we go back a screen, and if somebody were to go in and say, you know what, let me view this one. Okay, yeah, I see that. Okay, I've got that. That's the one I'm looking for. I click this button right here and say, hey, I want to download this to my local desktop and view it there. And in the end, maybe eventually I'm done with this. I want to go ahead and delete that piece of media. And all we do is delete the payload file. We do not delete any of the metadata. Check this out now. On that piece of media, I've got all this chain of custody. Every time somebody clicks on anything to view it, download it, or whatever, now you're getting your digital chain of custody. Now, here's the kicker. This is where this whole thing ends off. We have a component to our software. It's just a Windows service. You can install that on a Windows machine on your end, and you can have all your people put all their data on your SANS drive. So let's say there's a drive letter called in. And so you tell your people when you come in with digital media, you throw it on the in drive. Our software will
Right.
process that in drive and then move all of that media into another folder on the SANS drive that all your people don't have access to. So all the payload files stay inside your structure, but the only way anybody can ever access is to go into our software and say, I want to download it or view it or whatever the case may be. And that enforces chain of custody. So it's just one of those. You don't have to do that, but we do not sell components to our software. Everything we sell is part of the product, whether you use it or not.
Gotcha. Okay. No, that makes sense. Yeah. Thinking for a moment. So, all right, for the files here, these are presumably like at the top level of a drive. I guess let me ask another question. Does your software loop through containers and just telegraphing to inform your response? I mean, that's actually not something we would want it to do. So like if we had a zip file or a forensic container or something sitting on the top level, we would simply want it to stop there and say, all right, here's the LO1, 2, 3, 4, whatever that are sitting at the top level directory, and done.
Okay.
I guess that's my question. Is like this MP4 here and then JPEG, and the reason being is like that's what we collect, right? We'll collect, we'll get TSD, FTP, and then we have to loop through them. But that we do that in a separate process. We would not want that done here.
Okay. But what I would say though is then you would not want to use this component at all, because the only way this component does work is that it reads one folder, it moves the file into another folder where people don't have access to it, and they have to access it from within this product. So if that doesn't work, I understand it, but that is how that is set up.
Okay.
Steve, sorry for joining late here. I have a question. How do your clients use it? Would they put NCASE evidence files up into this and check them out when they needed to work with them?
Well, that is the concept behind it, is that you're controlling chain of custody to all that media by enforcing that they log into this interface to do anything with it. If they want to download it, view it, whatever the case may be, it's only accessible from within this interface. And so then our software knows where that file is stored out on your SANS drive, and so it can read it and bring it back. But they would not have direct access to it via the SANS drive.
Gotcha.
I mean,
and why wouldn't they have access to it via SANS drive? Is it encrypted on the back end there, or
well,
is it changed, or what?
That is actually up to you. You could give them access to it, but the problem is if somebody can go directly to the SANS drive to copy the file off of the SANS drive, my software has no idea of knowing they grabbed it and did anything with it. So that's the purpose of this feature, is that they don't have access to the file. They can only get it through our software, so that generating, I don't know if you saw this screen here. Here is a file, and here's all the chain of custody on it. The only way I can generate chain of custody is to know that they got it through the software.
Gotcha. Because what I'm wondering, I like how you can upload it and then you have the chain of custody there. But what I don't want to do is if we have like a terabyte image,
Yep.
We don't usually compress our images. So if we have a terabyte image, we have to upload it, and then if we need to work with that image, we'd have to download it again.
Yeah, so you actually wouldn't have to upload it. All you have to do is drag it to the drive letter where our system is going to process it. So that is just simply sticking it on the drive. But you're right. I have no way of controlling chain of custody without them going through the interface of our software. If they have direct access to where the files are at, now I will say, you guys could leave that drive letter open. The one where we sort of move all the files into sort of the hidden area, you could still do it that way. But again, the idea is if they just go directly to that drive letter and copy the file off, there is no way for me to know that they did that.
Yeah. Okay. Not a deal breaker for us. We just develop a workflow around it.
And I'm fine with that. And in fact, what a lot of our clients will do is instead of tracking all of that media within this media tab, they just go in and create what are physical items for what is all that digital media. But the problem is you just don't control the access to it, and then you're counting on, so you threw out the right answer. We create workflow around it. The problem we typically see is people, if they are not forced to do something, inevitably it's never done. And then all of a sudden people are grabbing all these files, and the purpose of tracking chain of custody on the digital media is out the window. So now that would be no different with your physical evidence. Let's just say that all these physical items you put into an evidence room, but you hang the key on the door. And now all of a sudden people can go in and just grab that stuff, and they don't have to go into the software and check it out. And so inevitably people are like, man, I love that chain of custody tracking system, but I'm only going to take it for 10 minutes. I don't want to go in and check it out and then check it back in. And so inevitably they don't do it. And because you put the key on the door, they don't do it.
Yeah.
It's
true.
All I'm doing is speaking fact about that, and then you guys can take that and say, hey, listen, I like that. We do want to lock this down or not. So when it comes to physical evidence, usually, you know, I don't know if it's Patrick or whoever it is. Hey, Patrick, you have access to the room. Everybody, if you want something done, you've got to go to Patrick, and then Patrick is going to enforce the chain of custody is being done.
So Steve tries to keep me out of all the rooms.
Right. But that is my only point, is if the door is left unlocked to that room, people will not go in and check items out because it's just something additional to do. And eventually they'll write that off as, I'm only going to have it for 10 minutes. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's the same way with all of your digital media. I would love to have a way of being able to track digital media while giving people root access to it. I just can't. So I don't know if you hit the part earlier. I'm sorry, who just jumped in? Is that
Hey, Steve Ramey.
Steve. So that's not something you have to do. You do not have to track digital media within our product, but there is a media tab right there, and it's in the product whether you use it or not. It's just total. It's like a lot of things that are in here. You can use what you want and don't use what you don't want.
Yep, no, it makes sense.
Okay.
Can you go back to that item tab, please?
Sure, absolutely.
And do you have the ability to upload? Like, if we created an offline file that contained all this information, would you have the ability to upload?
Yeah, so we actually have a data import area to the product, and it'll import a CSV type file. Now, actually, there's two ways to skin this cat, all right? The easy, it's already built into the software, is here's an Excel document. It's already got all the columns on it and everything else. You just fill it in. But when you import it onto this screen, it'll validate it and make sure that everything is correct. Like, for example, in our system, you don't have the ability to type in the name of the category of the item. It enforces a drop-down list. So if somebody were to misspell it on the Excel document, it'll actually fail on the import and say, hey, wait a minute, that doesn't line up. Now, a standard text field is no big deal. That's sort of level one. But we also have a lot of clients that will take this document that I'm going to bring up here. This is our API framework. So we actually have, so I don't know what you guys are using for all your matter management, but I know Legal Hold Pro is a big one that's out there. So we actually have some clients that have built in integrations between Legal Hold Pro so that every time a case is generated in Legal Hold Pro, it automatically generates the case within this product so that your people do nothing more than go in and say, hey, I want to add an item into the system, and the matter already exists. As a matter of fact, you can even go into the settings security area and you can say, hey, for all my basic users that log in, I don't want them to be able to create a case. I'm fine with them. Not that button. Here's the create right there. So now they cannot create a case. And that the presumption is that it's coming from some other system. Make sense?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So that's sort of the easy to the much more advanced, and then you guys decide where at in between you want all of this stuff to land. Okay. Let me see if I have, just to give you sort of a bigger, sorry, Patrick, one of the, so you're talking about your Excel document. I'm going in and searching all my items now. So, you can go in with, these searches can become very complex. In fact, just a week ago, we had one of our client training sessions. We do online training sessions with clients. Every 3 weeks, we pick a different topic and we go through it in depth. And last week, we did this searching. We spent an hour going through every facet of this searching that's available. And so you can imagine if it took me an hour to deep dive into all this different searching, I can't cover it in 5 minutes here. But so you can go in and do item searching. I want every item brought in the last 100 days, where the status of the item is currently checked into the evidence room, and the category equals computers. And so now I'm going to go down and search, and you can do that based on all your offices. So now I'm going in and let me see if I can get some results to this here. And of course, I picked something so detailed, I got no results on it. In fact, I don't even know how many items are in this organization here. Okay, well, there's my problem. I've only got 269 total items in this office or organization. Okay, now another important thing for you, Patrick, is in your setup area are all of your offices. This is where you go in and create however many different offices you have, physical entities that are tracking evidence. You're going to go in and build all of those offices. And the entire purpose of an office is simply to segment data. I want, I've got data in New York, I got data in Chicago, whatever the case may be. So you go in and build those so that when you do searching, now you can say, yeah, give me all those computers, but just the ones in New York or the ones in New York and Chicago. And on top of all of that, going back to user administration, let me show you this. So here's a user that's in my system. You can go in and determine what permissions each user has in each office. So someone may be a power user in the Chicago, or this guy right here, Joe Miller is the guy I'm modifying. In my Chicago office, he's a power user. But in everything else, I just want him to be read-only. Or maybe he doesn't have access to New York at all for whatever reason. And now you can go in and you can pick users and you can start staggering what permissions they have in which office. Whereas you, Patrick, maybe you're an org admin of the system. You've got everything everywhere. This is how you begin to start tracking things at a much larger level, but yet you can make it very granular. Okay. There are so many things I didn't cover. I mean, I could spend 2 hours going through everything. Is there anything you would have expected, man, you didn't cover this, and before I say you can't do it, is there anything you would have expected that you have not seen?
This is primarily a evidence management system. It's not really a case management system where if we were to analyze the data, would we be able to record the analysis results?
Here's what I would say. I have said that our system is not a case or a matter tracking system, but in the end, you have seen the ability to go in and collect any type of data you want. You can attach documents. The only thing that the software will not do is allow you to input that data and then begin to run transactions on it to produce results. But if to you, case tracking is, I want to input data, I want to input, report results and attach that, you can certainly do that. but I would say that the bulk of what we do is physical evidence management. And the way you see that is by this right here. When we go back to that case we generated earlier, when I go to the items tab, here are all of the things that you can do with an item. I mean, some of these are not highlighted because you can't do it based on the status of the item, but look at all of those. When I go to the case level, all of a sudden, let me go back to here and bring up a list of matters. So here's a list of all my matters. You'll notice the amount of actions. There actually is on this. There are no actions to perform on the case. So I can collect any data, I can search on any data, I can report on any data, but it's not set up to do a lot of actions on that stuff.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. I was just curious if it's the evidence here. What about working with like offsite storage, like Iron Mountain or anything like that? Does it have an integration feature with offsite storage?
Anything you do with that is gonna have to be built within the API. So once you have access to an API, you can literally do anything under the sun, but it has to be built to make that work. So we don't have anything out of the box where it just works with Iron Mountain. That's something that would have to be built in. But again, with API access, you can make it do anything.
Okay. Well, what coding languages do your API support?
Well, I guess the thing is so like let's just go back. This is a document I'm happy to send over to you. This is a document that explains how you interact with the API. So, like for example, if you're reading data, it brings back basically XML type data on the screen. And when you inject it, it's basically you're injecting. If you're injecting, typically people when they're doing an API in our system, they're reading data out of it. But if you go back to that example I gave earlier, where I'm injecting shoot, I forgot the name of that product already. Legal Hold Pro. If you're injecting data into our product, you're still going to use XML type data. It's just you're calling a different API to inject it versus I'm reading it.
Yeah, and I guess Steve, when we started, like everything, whether we do it on-prem or in their hosted environment, is all access to the browser. So it's all going to be JSON, like data exchange for interacting with it.
I know that this is JSON. Well, as a matter of fact, you can see on my screenshot right here.
Yeah, you can see it right there.
That's how I'm reading it, as I'm making a JSON call.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, so yeah, we can work with that. I mean,
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. I mean, I don't have much else. I mean, like I'll start really basic. For me, it's just like it's online and everybody can access it and enter data. That's great. I mean, so I'm really like I'm that simple right now at this point.
Right. Well, I was joking with Patrick when you throw out we're using Excel documents, the bar that you have set is literally underground at that point. And so I can almost start walking forward and trip over the bar. And I'm in agreement with you. Certainly from the most basic standpoints, this is going to get above that bar. But hopefully you also see a framework and something that could become much more than just what the basic things are right now. And that's where you're heading, is you're buying a product that is going to allow you to go to far greater heights than what you're even thinking right now.
Yep.
Gotcha.
But it could be. I mean, I could set you up a demo site, and literally within 10 minutes, you could begin to start working and dealing with this stuff.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool if we did that.
Have we covered pricing at all?
That was my next question. Before we get into that, if we were to do a hosted site with you guys as your cloud infrastructure, how would access to our files be controlled? So would we have to upload our collected data to maintain chain of custody? Would that get uploaded?
Well, no, that goes back to that application that I spoke about a little bit earlier. When you're talking about that actual physical media, we have an application that sits on a server in your building so that those files never leave. And what that application does is it recognizes that you put a file into the folder. It reads it. It takes all the metadata about that file. It uploads that to us, but the payload file is moved into another folder on that SANS drive, and then our product from the website simply references where that SANS is sitting at.
Gotcha.
Let me give you know what? I'm going to flip over to one of my police clients, but I'm going to show you exactly how this works. So I'm going to flip into the Florence Police Department, and I'm just going to go in and search some of the media they've uploaded. And so hopefully when you see this, you'll be like, oh, now I got that. So I'm going in and I'm searching every piece of media ever uploaded by the Florence Police Department. This is all body cam video. So in the police world, everything's about body cam. So at this point, I can tell you there are 60 pieces of media that have been loaded. But here's the kicker. I've got all the metadata from here, but I don't have access myself in the building that I'm at. I don't have access to where that file is sitting at. So I can't click on it and view it. The reference to that file is back here in the settings area. Here it is. So there is actually the URL along with password and everything else. And I know you can see that, but nobody has access to that directory right there. So it's only accessible from wherever I have access to that. And right now I know that's in their building.
Gotcha.
And that becomes the beauty of it. It could be a 1 terabyte file. And clearly, you would not want to pass a 1 terabyte file to the cloud. I totally understand that. But passing it off to the SANS drive, which is as fast as it is right now, and even being able to read back from it, you're reading it locally, not from an internet hosted source.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you said 1 terabyte cloud. Nobody wants to do that. I don't understand how Kcura is getting the Relativity 1 cloud-based solution, how that's going to do any justice for anybody, Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think is if they're doing something like, Amazon and Microsoft like offer where you can either ship data somewhere or have them pick it up, right? And they promise fast transfer, right on the pipe, but yeah.
The reason we built that component is so that people could deal with really large files, but it never left their facility. So, you're getting it's all stored locally. It's just now you're picking up the additional chain of custody on it. Okay, well, that's something you guys can think about. Again, it comes with the product, whether you use it or not.
Okay. So what going back into the pricing piece of this, what are we looking at for fees?
Yep. So let me I'm going to flip a document on my screen, and this is a document that I'm going to send to you. The purpose of this 3-page document, actually it's only really 2 pages, is to cover every different area of our software that could cost any money. And it's just used for a discussion. So the first thing we're going to talk about is licensing to the product. That typically is the biggest cost. The way we license our software is on concurrent licenses. We don't care about how many users you have. We don't care about how many computers you log in from. All we care about is how many people are logging in concurrently. So let's just say I'm going to go with a nice round number. Let's just say you buy 5 concurrent licenses. 5 people can log in. When the 6th person goes to log in, it comes back and says, hey, wait a minute, no licenses are available, come back. As soon as one of the 5 log out, it becomes available. They can log in from anywhere. So you want to buy enough concurrent licenses to where people aren't always running into the problem of logging in, but you don't want to have so many that you never run into an instance of people getting, I can't get logged in. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. So each concurrent license in our cloud model is $4,500 a year. So if you buy 5 of them, you just multiply that number by 5. If it's 10, multiply it by 10. Now, there are quantity discounts if you get up into the higher numbers, but that's how we price it out. $4,500 per year per concurrent license. And then, of course, every year, you're going to pay that reoccurring fee. At any point in the year, you can come back and say, I need more or less, and those numbers can be adjusted up and down. But everything we sell is based on the concurrent license. So just so you know, my model is to build more things to give you more reason to have more people logging in concurrently, because that's when I make money. When that media feature came out, we didn't say, well, that's $20,000 to get it. We just simply said, here it is. It's free. But hopefully that generates more people logging in, and it will. If all of a sudden you're tracking digital media, everybody has to log in to get it. That's going to have an effect on that concurrent connectivity. All right? So there's no surprises as to how and when I make money. If you have more people logging in, that's when we make money. You with me?
Yep.
Okay, so everything below that, that right there is the most significant cost. Below that, let's say you were one of those clients that said, you know what, I like the idea of having a cloud model system and I don't want to store any of these media files locally. We are on Amazon's infrastructure, so we can provide you cloud based storage. Okay, just something to keep in mind, it is there. All right. Now, also data import. That's typically something. I know you have all your Excel docs, and maybe you can import your own data. Maybe you import those Excel documents, and if you can do it without my help, that's great. You can have the product, you can run with it. There's no cost to doing data import. But if you come to me and say, "Hey Ben, I've got a dozen Excel documents. I don't have time to mess with it. Can you look at it and tell me how much it's going to cost to import these?" I can give you that number.
Gotcha.
Now, moving down below that, this is where you get into consulting, training, custom development, and we try to quote all of that out by the project. So one of the examples is going to be like the Legal Hold Pro. If you guys came back, I don't even know if you're using that or not, but if you came back and said, you know what, I love the idea that you have an API, but we don't have the time to develop all that. Can you tell me what it's going to cost to develop all that? We would look at whatever the specs of that project are, and we would quote that out by a project. Below that, if in training, we there are charges for us getting the project up and running. There is some level of effort going to be required on both ends to make sure this product gets implemented correctly. Sometimes people say, you know what, I want you to come sit in my building to do this. It's more expensive to have somebody sitting in your building than to say, you know what, we'll just do it over the phone. Okay, so anyways, those are all things that I can't quote out at this point because I don't know enough about how big this would be and how much involvement you're going to need. But these are things that at some point to get you an exact quote are going to have to be covered. All right. I
Gotcha.
think we sort of went through this a little bit earlier. Here are all the hardware options that we typically sell to clients right out of the box. You do not have to buy from us. You can get variants of these products, but these are the ones that I would be focusing on, things that will help you track evidence. Printers, scanners, signature pads, tablet devices, things like that.
Yep. Yep.
Now, the next thing down here is the private cloud platform. So we also offer a SaaS product, but just so you guys know, this product up here at 4,500 a license is a shared database model. Some clients say, you know what, I like SaaS. I want my own machines, my own databases. I don't want there to be any linkage with anybody else on the planet. And so the licensing is still $4,500. You just pick up a private cloud option. And so that literally is putting servers on our Amazon infrastructure that are essentially your servers, but we're managing them and doing everything else.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's why it says up here optional. You don't have to get that. It's just something we want you to know about in case you say, "Hey, love it. I want the private cloud option." Okay. Last couple of things: sales tax. If you don't have a sales tax exemption, then we charge sales tax on our purchase. The last two things are sort of highly recommended things. If you guys are in a position to put a requirements doc together, it just makes everybody's life easier when you put something together that says, you know what, even if it is what Steven said a few minutes ago, you know what, my basic requirements are that people can log in all over the world to a cloud-based product, and that's what I want. Well, at the very least, I can say, yes, we can complete that. But if you guys come up with 50 different things you would like this thing to do before you buy it, I'm happy to answer every one of those 50 questions and tell you, yes, we can do it, and here's how we can do it. What I don't want to get into is you don't put any requirements doc together, so therefore we can't answer any questions other than what I show you, and then you buy the product and find out that, oh my goodness, I didn't realize this did not integrate with Iron Mountain. Well, other than I did
Right.
tell you we don't have that, I don't want you to come back and make assumptions. So most of our clients buy without a requirements doc. I'm just telling you, if you put one together, I'll be happy to answer it. We will certainly, if you come back to us with any custom development or data import or anything like that, I will put a statement of work together so that you know what you're getting for that.
Gotcha.
We try.
That makes sense.
So, nonetheless, that's how our pricing works. Now, the only other pricing document I have is if you buy it and put it in your building. That's a whole different animal, and I'll give you that also. But the structure is still the same. It is still concurrent licensing. It's on a server in your building versus our cloud model. So I will, Patrick, I'll send you that also.
Okay. No, that's perfect.
So here's what I'd walk away from. Let me give you my last 30 seconds, and then I'm going to answer any questions you have. If not, we'll hang up. My last 30 seconds are, hopefully you've seen enough to say, hey, listen, this is certainly way better than what we've got right now. I think we covered that in the first 2 minutes. Hopefully this is a platform you can see, hey, this is something we can grow with. I hope you look at that and say that's affordable. And, it's something you can move into. I'm going to send you a bunch of documents that explain that web API, our security on our cloud infrastructure, the pricing. I would step away from at this point, take a step back, and look through those documents and sort of digest what's going on. I'm happy to set up a demo site for you. We even have a quick start guide that I can run Patrick through on some of the basics that are required to get the product up and running. We're here to help at this point. I'm going to respond to when you need help. I'm not going to call you every other day and ask you, are you going to buy, you going to buy, you going to buy? I'm here to help you out when you need help. Hopefully the product can stand on its own at this point. If I didn't do a good job demonstrating it, then it all falls apart at this point, and I didn't do a good job. Okay. Anything you need from me at this point? Any questions?
I mean, I think other than what you outlined, no. Yeah, at least for my part, I mean, we have pretty keen interest in getting the demo site up and running. Steve and I will coordinate on our end to just make sure that we've got that we can pay attention to it, right? I mean, because we got a few other team members that'll want to take a look at this, and we would definitely want to give it a good shakedown and make sure that we're evaluating it the right way.
Just so you know, you now have a 50-minute video that you asked me to record, and I will send you over where to get that video from, because I guess Steve didn't know that. He hopped on late, but Patrick asked me to record this video, so the entire thing is recorded, and you can play it back later.
Gotcha.
Which I'm sure you're going to want to do, right before you go to bed tonight, and so you're going to have a good night's sleep. You can just put this thing back on and play it to your heart's content. Okay. Steven, anything else from you? You feeling good right now? We'll take that as
no, this has been very enjoyable. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys know where I'm at. If I can help you out with anything, let me know. I'll have that documentation over to you in just a little bit.
Great. Thank you.
See you.
Cool. All right. Thanks, man.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.